There are about 24 species of bats found in Singapore. There are two main categories of bats, microbats and megabats. Megabats are also called fruit bats. The lesser dog-faced fruit bat, also known as the common fruit bat, is one of the most common bats in Singapore. Despite our regular interactions with these bats, most of us know very little about them. How do we identify a dog-faced fruit bat, and what makes them unique from other species? Dog-faced fruit bats are typically tawny to brown in color, with brighter neck fur. The males tend to have orange collars, while females have more yellow fur on their necks. Some younger individuals do not have a brightly colored neck. A dog-faced fruit bat, as its name suggests, has a dog-like snout. Its facial features do not really fit the conventional idea of a bat. It also has large, conspicuous eyes, which means that the bat orient themselves visually and rely heavily on the sense of sight in their daily lives. Again, this does not seem to register with the conventions of a blind bat. Notice the white wing bones. This is another unique feature of the dog-faced fruit bat that cannot be found on other species of bats. The diet of the fruit bats mainly consists of fruits. Their local abundance is therefore associated with fruiting season. Their teeth are adapted to bite through hard fruit skin. They do not consume the flesh of the fruit. Instead, they suck the juice and soft pulp out of the fruit. Dog-faced fruit bats enjoy mangoes and chiku, and have been observed to feed on palm fruits as well as curry plant fruits. To forage for food, bats rely on their sight and smell. In contrast to microbats, fruit bats do not use echolation to navigate, with the exception of the Egyptian fruit bat. Dog-faced fruit bats, like any other bat, hang upside down from their structure, their weight supported by their feet. It is the only Old World bat known to make shelters, biting at the center seed string, which results in the leaf caving inwards, forming a tent-like structure to protect the bat from direct sunlight or rain. Dog-faced fruit bats roost typically in big leafy trees, above ground level, so as to obtain maximum protection from weather elements, predators such as birds of prey, and to minimize noise pollution. The colony size of bats roosting in foliage usually ranges from 6 to 12 bats. The size of colonies may reflect the social structure, such as harem formation. The dog-faced fruit bat has year-round harem with liable female groups. Harem type of social organization means that in roosts, there is a single male bat with many female bats around it. This helps to increase the mating chances and subsequently increases the fertility rate. When breeding females are distributed among the males, the potential of polygyny will depend on the site fidelity of females. Look closely at the bigger-sized females at the right side. If you look closely enough, you can make out a baby wrapped in their wings. Under favorable conditions, female dog-faced fruit bats give birth to one pup twice each year. Pregnancy lasts between 5 and 6 months. Females carry their pup in flight for the first 2 months of life until it has learned to fly with confidence. Dog-faced fruit bats seem well adapted to survive in a natural environment. However, human activities and interventions are causing them much distress. Dog-faced fruit bats face the problem of loss of habitat due to human development. When areas are urbanized, deforestation occurs to clear the land. When all these trees are felled, many species of animals, not just dog-faced fruit bats, lose their natural habitat. As a means of survival, they had to locate another roosting area. This is why many bats live in urban areas. Dog-faced fruit bats are extremely sensitive to noise, even if it does not use echolocation. They get very disturbed by increased noise volumes and are visibly uncomfortable. Singapore is a densely populated country. Almost every land is an urban area. Dog-faced fruit bats roost in leaves or buildings, and more often than not, they end up roosting near estates, with increased human activity and increased noise levels. If the noise level gets intolerable, the bats will leave the roost in search of another, more peaceful one. In general, bats are one of the most misunderstood creatures in the world. Many of us have unexplained misconceptions about bats. Bats are not blind. Most bats can see as well as humans. Fruit bats have eyesight that is adapted to low light, much like cats. Fruit bats also see in color. People think bats are blind because most bats rely on a sonar system to navigate around. As the bat flies, it emits a high, squeaking sound, unable to be heard by human ears. As the sound travels, it hits objects and bounces back. These sound waves tell the bat where objects are so that they can be avoided. This method of locating objects is called echolocation. Bats do not attack humans. It has been reported that bats tend to swoop towards people's heads, and that might seem very intimidating. However, we are forgetting the fact that most bats rely on echolocation, which means to say their navigation system is always accurate. In fact, their echolocation is many times more efficient than any similar system built by humans. If it swoops towards you, it would most probably mean that there is an insect near you. Not all bats are vampires. Of the world's 1100 plus species, only 3 are vampire bats, limited mostly to Latin America. Vampire bats are very small, about the size of a package of M&Ms. Vampire bats do not attack humans or suck our blood. They prefer to get their teaspoon-sized meals from other animals, such as cattle. The remaining 1,097 or so species of bats eat insects, fruit, nectar, and pollen. Bats are not related to rodents, even though they might look like flying mice. Research on the evolution of bats has shown that bats are more related to primates. In that sense, we are actually more related to bats than bats are to mice. Bats don't carry rabies. However, they are capable of catching the disease just like any other mammal. Less than 1/2 of the 1% of bats usually contract the disease. According to a source, more people die annually from contact with household pets than they have died from contact with bats in all recorded history. This doesn't mean that it's okay to touch or handle bats, as they may be afraid and bite in self-defense. Bats are wild animals, and all wild animals can be dangerous. Additionally, grounded bats are more likely to be sick, so they should never be rescued barehanded. Bats are not exclusively active at night. Here, it is still late in the afternoon, when the sun has yet to set. However, the bats have already started grooming and stretching, moving vigorously around and stretching their wings to warm themselves up for the flight to forage for food. They leave the roost after sunset and are classified as nocturnal animals, but it is incorrect to assume that it sleeps until the sun sets. Fruit bats bring us over 450 commercial products and 80 medicines through pollination and seed dispersal. Over 95% of rainforest regrowth comes from the seeds that have been spread by fruit bats. Dog-faced fruit bats are a particularly important seed disperser. It is a seasonal specialist, and over an annual fruiting cycle, can consume the fruits of 54 species, the leaves of 14 species, and the flower parts of 4 species. As the bat covers long distances while foraging for food, the seed is passed out of its digestive system, undigested, and lands far away from its parent plant. The bat has become a seed dispersal agent. Plants that rely on the bat include banana, avocado, mangoes, and peaches. Dog-faced fruit bats are classified as least concerned species by the International Union of Conservation for Nature. Dog-faced fruit bats are not extensively studied in field research, but it can be confirmed that their populations are thriving well, being widely distributed. Although their populations are stable, we cannot be too complacent about it. We do not want to push yet another species to the brink of extinction. Here's what we should do. Number 1. We must keep our volumes down when near known roosting areas because the bats are extremely sensitive to volume. If we put in the effort to read up and understand about bats, we will realize that bats are not scary, as they are commonly depicted. They are actually shy, gentle, and intelligent creatures. Bats are extremely important in the web of life. They play a significant ecological role. We must conserve bats in order to maintain a balance within the ecosystem.